From the big picture standpoint, we have the ability to really change our energy system.
Renewable energy is now beyond mainstream.
It really is a valuable resource that up till now has not really been valued.
Wind energy now supplies 5% of this country's power, and it's growing incredibly fast.
Because of technological advances over the last 5-10 years, wind and now solar power are actually cheaper than the other ones.
Many companies have a big expense line item energy, but they now have the ability to source it from a wind farm.
I came from the fossil fuel industry, and your cost of fuel would change every year. Here, there is no charge for the wind. It never changes. It's zero.
You don't have to drill a big hole or go mining for something or bring things in to fuel that facility.
The fact that we can do it now, to me, suggests we ought to be doing it, and that's what Apex is about. A wind farm starts with figuring out where you want to be, which is one of the most interesting and difficult decisions.
There's three things that happen that are all long lead. One is site control, obtaining land leases from 1 to 200 landowners. And that can take 1 to 2 to 3 years.
Wind farms aren't just built on concrete and steel. It's all the people that go into them.
The landowners themselves are probably the most important part of the project, because if they don't sign on to the project, then there is no project.
There's installing meteorological towers to measure the wind. How many units of energy are you going to have to sell?
The only way to predict future is to look at past, and the representation of past for us is data.
We're looking for certain characteristics that would indicate higher wind speeds. The data is refined all the way to the point where we can actually say this spot is windier than this spot.
You also have to do environmental studies.
Birds and bats are part of this functioning ecosystem, so we want to keep our impacts as small as possible so that ecosystem continues to function.
The other long lead item is the interconnection process.
The electric grid is complex, so it's made up of lots of different power plants that all have to work together like an orchestra. When we build our power plants, they interconnect directly to these big high voltage transmission lines, and then we arrange to get it to our customers.
Building public support is a huge and really never-ending part of the project.
The education aspect is fundamental to a successful project.
These families have sometimes been on this land for generations. So we're the newcomer here, so we need to convince them we're going to be a partner with them for the next 20, 25 years.
Really, most importantly, we try to build trust because at the end of the day, people's decisions about wind energy are largely going to depend on who they trust.
It's relationships, it's studies, and they've all got to come together and line up perfectly, and then you have a project.
As all the pieces fall in place, we began to provide more detail and more definition of the project.
It's hard to imagine all the work that goes into building a wind farm. They go up very quickly, but it's a lot of work and very, very big pieces of machinery.
You can sometimes forget the scale of these things and what the real impact is. This is going to power a lot of homes for a long time. It's a really big deal, and it's humbling, but also really inspiring as well.
We know these are large machines. They do change the landscape, but they bring a lot of great benefits.
In many ways, we're working for them to try and have this type of investment be made in their community, going into schools, going into government services.
It's a big deal for us to have the project be something the community can be proud of.
Their desire to see the project be built is ultimately what makes it happen.
There's hundreds of people pulling everything together, but they're pulling it together for the next 20 years. We take all the wind farms that have been completed and operate them for the life of the project. We employ the latest state-of-the-art technologies to make sure that we're getting the most out of these wind farms.
Every kilowatt hour that a wind farm or a solar farm produces means a coal-fired power plant doesn't have to run as much.
So the more power we can produce, the better the environment is, the cleaner the air is, and the cheaper the cost is for the consumer.
This is the future, so the market is going to get bigger and bigger.
Our mission is to accelerate the shift to clean energy. It's a huge responsibility, and we want to deliver. Change is always difficult, and we're in the business of delivering change to our energy system.
Entrepreneurial.
Passionate.
Innovative.
Energetic.
Efficient.
Driven. We are
Apex Clean Energy.